Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue sharing with you the story of Hoai and Hung. As many of you already know, Hoai grew up as an orphan. Her life was difficult from a very young age, and most importantly, she never had the chance to learn how to read or write. Because of that, she suffered many disadvantages in life, in work, and in every opportunity that could have changed her future. But ever since she met Hung, everything seemed to open up in a new direction. He gently encouraged her, telling her that as long as she was willing to learn, willing to open her heart to knowledge, the road ahead would become much brighter. Hoai thought about it for a long time, and finally decided to begin her journey of learning to change her life, with Hung's unconditional support. Stay tuned to see how the story unfolds. Early in the morning, when the sun had just risen above the distant mountains, Hoai carried her bamboo basket and stepped onto the village path still covered in cool mist. The tiny droplets on her worn sandals made her footsteps feel lighter, as if the road itself was waking up with her. She walked toward the familiar palm hill, where the fruits had helped her provide for herself and Tony for years. She carefully picked each ripe golden palm fruit, her calloused yet gentle hands not missing a single good one. Every full basket held a little hope that today she might earn enough to buy some vegetables, a bit of rice, and save a little more for Tony. At the marketplace, she set down her basket and softly greeted customers passing by. She didn't speak much, didn't urge anyone to buy, she simply offered a sample with a gentle smile that warmed the hearts of those who saw her. That honesty and kindness made people feel sympathetic, wanting to support the quiet young woman whose eyes always hid a little worry but never resentment. Gradually, her basket emptied, and with it, her smile became brighter and more at ease. After finishing at the market, she used the little money she earned to buy vegetable seedlings for her garden behind the house. That small patch of land carried her hope that one day she could grow enough to lessen the burden of daily expenses. On her way home, the wind blew through her messy hair, carrying with it the scent of soil, sunlight, and the simple but resilient rhythm of life. When she arrived home, Tony, the little boy she loved more than anything, was quietly playing with Mike, the small puppy she had recently brought home to keep Tony company while she worked. Tony still could not speak, he only made soft sounds, his bright eyes following Mick's every movement. The two little ones stuck to each other, and watching them filled Hoai's heart with warmth. No matter how tired she was, the moment she stepped inside and saw Tony waiting, she immediately knelt down, held him close, and embraced him as if holding her entire world. She soothed him, stroked his hair, whispering words only the two of them could understand. Tony's little giggles, Mick's soft barking, and the gentle pat of Hoai's hand created a peaceful scene that could soften anyone's heart. These simple moments, the modest meals, the afternoons spent caring for her child, the mornings on the hill picking fruit, were what kept her going. And it was also in these moments that she understood even more clearly what Hung had told her. Learning to read and write was not only to change her own life, but to give Tony a stronger future. When Hung returned home and did not see Hoai in the yard, an uneasy feeling immediately rose in his chest. The small house, usually filled with soft footsteps and the gentle voices of mother and child, was strangely quiet. He walked from the kitchen to the front porch, looked around, then went back inside, a tight worry gripping his heart like an invisible hand. He did not want to imagine anything bad, but memories of all the hardships Hoai had endured made him even more anxious. Only when he finally saw her returning from the vegetable plot, her conical hat tilted against the sun, arms holding several bundles of fresh greens, did he breathe out in relief, as though a heavy stone had been lifted from his chest. He stood on the steps waiting for her, his eyes filled with both worry and quiet warmth at seeing her safely home. Hoai set the basket down, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and told him that the plot of land belonged to his mother, who had lent it to her so she could grow vegetables. Her voice softened as she said it, and her eyes flickered with hesitation. She did not know whether accepting the land was the right thing to do, whether people might think she was taking advantage of his family's kindness. The uncertainty had troubled her all morning, leaving her unsure whether she should accept the offer or refuse it. Hearing that, Hung stepped closer, gently placed a hand on her shoulder, and said in a calm, steady voice, "When someone is kind, you accept it. And if they are not, you have every right to stand up for yourself." The simple words loosened the tight knot inside her heart. All her life, she had lived quietly, afraid of misunderstanding, afraid of being blamed, afraid she was unworthy of any help. But when Hung said those words, a strange warmth spread through her. Sometimes, all it took was someone standing on your side for fear to become small. That afternoon, after she finished preparing their things, Hung took Hoai with him to pick up Tony. The little boy lay in the caretaker's arms, and his eyes lit up the moment he saw his mother. She held him close, breathing in the warm scent of sunlight in his hair, and her heart softened instantly. Then, Hung brought both mother and child to a large amusement park in the city. It was the first time Hoai had ever sat in such a beautiful car. The first time she had traveled along wide streets, seeing tall buildings she had only ever encountered on the internet. When the gate of the amusement park opened, she felt as if she had stepped into another world, vast, colorful, and full of beauty she had never touched before. Hung carried Tony so the boy could look around with his curious eyes. As for Hoai, he held her hand and guided her through every section, the playgrounds, the gardens, the statues children loved. He never let her out of his sight, always walking close beside her, afraid that if he stepped away even for a moment, she would retreat back into her old shell, the one where she always felt small, frightened, and undeserving of the world. Every so often, Hung stopped to take photos of her. He fixed her hair, adjusted her posture, straightened her shirt when the wind blew at askew. Small gestures, but enough for Hoai to feel a tenderness no one had shown her before. The day felt long, yet passed so quickly that she didn't even realize how many times she had smiled. By evening, the amusement park glowed with warm yellow lights, turning everything into something dreamy and fairy tale-like. Tony had fallen asleep on her shoulder, his tiny breaths brushing against her neck, filling her with an unmistakable peace. She sat beside Hung on a wooden bench, watching people pass by, feeling light as drifting clouds. In that moment, Hung leaned slightly toward her and said in a firm, gentle voice, "From now on, live bravely. With me beside you, you don't have to be afraid of anything." Hoai did not respond. She just smiled, a small smile, enough to hide a quiet worry stirring deep inside her. Something she could not yet name. When Tony was fast asleep, his eyelashes trembling softly with each breath, Hoai adjusted his scarf and sat silently for a moment. The golden lights of the park reflected on her face, revealing the growing unease she had tried to bury. She twisted her fingers together, eyes lowered, as though searching for the courage to speak. On Hung. "I cannot read or write. When Tony goes to school, I'm afraid I won't be able to teach him." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but every word fell heavily, like stones dropped into still water. Since childhood, she had feared letters, not out of dislike, but because she never had the chance to learn. Growing up orphaned, every day revolved around survival. Reading and writing were luxuries, distant like the lights of a faraway city. Her back grew accustomed to the weight of firewood, her feet to dusty roads, her hands to labor from dawn until night. Literacy belonged to another world, beautiful, but unreachable. Hung remained silent for a moment. He watched her lowered face, the worry etched into her expression. He understood that her fear was not simply about teaching Tony. It was an old wound, a deep-rooted insecurity that had shaped how she viewed herself. Finally, In a steady and warm voice, he said, "Then you should learn." Hoai looked up, startled. But he continued, his words clear and resolute, like building blocks of a new future laid before her. "Learn so no one can look down on you again. Learn so you can have a better future. And learn so you can teach Tony." These were not scoldings, nor empty comfort. They felt like a strong hand reaching out from a whirlpool, giving her something solid to hold. She had never imagined she could learn, never considered that she still had a chance. But something opened inside her when she heard those words. A small but powerful desire awakened, the desire to change her life. She looked at Tony, sleeping peacefully, his tiny fists curled as though holding onto a gentle dream. Then she looked back at Hung. In his eyes, she found no trace of doubt, only trust. Trust placed entirely in her. She took a deep breath and gathered all her courage. "I will learn. When Tony goes to the city for his therapy classes, I will enroll in adult education too." A smile tugged at the corner of Hung's lips, soft but filled with pride. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting a long time for this moment. He placed a hand on her shoulder and said gently, "Good. I'll help you." The park lights still glowed around them, the wind still whispered through the trees, and children still laughed somewhere in the distance. Yet to Hoai, everything felt still. Hung's words, his unwavering gaze, opened a door she had never dared approach before, a door to a new life, waiting for her to step through. For the first time, the future no longer felt distant. It was right in front of her, just one brave step away. That night, even though it was late and the entire village had fallen into silence, Hoai could not fall asleep. She lay on her side, staring at the dim ceiling, her heart tangled in a mix of emotions. Deciding to learn how to read and write, something so simple for many people, made her heartbeat pound as if she were about to embark on a long and unfamiliar journey. She felt nervous, anxious, and even a little excited in a way she couldn't explain. In the darkness, Tony's soft and steady breathing beside her eased part of the turmoil in her heart. She gently stroked his hair, feeling his warmth, and her determination grew stronger. Tony's future was her greatest motivation to change. On the other side, Hung was also awake. He lay turned toward her, quietly watching her with a gaze full of affection. Even when she didn't speak, he understood the storm of emotions in her heart. For someone with her background, stepping into something new like learning to read was like stepping into a dark place without a guiding light. But she had dared to speak up, dared to decide, and that alone filled him with immense pride. He did not disturb her. He simply placed his hand lightly on the blanket and shifted closer so his warmth could reach her. Her shoulders trembled slightly, not from the cold but from the weight of her thoughts. Seeing that only deepened the tenderness in his heart, as though he wanted to wrap her entire world into his arms. He already had plans for tomorrow. As soon as the morning came, he would go to the market and buy everything someone starting to learn needed: clean notebooks, new pens, pencils, erasers, and a writing board. He wanted everything to be complete and thoughtful, not for show, but so Hoai would feel she deserved the best start on this new journey. He remembered clearly the school supplies he had received on his first day of class as a child. Holding a fresh notebook and a brand new pen brought a small but powerful joy. He wanted Hoai to experience that feeling too, to know that learning was not a burden, but a door opening to countless new possibilities. Not only that, in the days before she made her decision, Hung had quietly contacted an adult education center near the place where Tony would attend therapy. He asked everything: class schedules, fees, beginner levels, and even whether any teachers were known for patience and kindness. He prepared everything without telling her, because he wanted her to feel supported the moment she was ready. He didn't want her to step onto this path feeling alone or overwhelmed. He wanted her to know that if she tried even a little, he would try 10 times harder to support her. In the moonlight filtering through the window, he watched Hoai's profile as she leaned close to Tony. Her face looked both strong and fragile at the same time. Hung exhaled softly, releasing the worry he had carried all day. She had made her decision. She had taken her first step toward the future. That alone was enough for him. He whispered her name quietly in his heart, but did not speak aloud. He didn't want to break the peaceful moment. Instead, he smiled, the quiet smile of a man who could see the road ahead beginning to open for both of them. Because tomorrow, with new notebooks, new pens, and a classroom waiting for her, Hoai's life would officially turn to another page. A blank page, waiting for her to write her own story. Would she overcome the insecurity of learning at an older age? That question echoed quietly inside her all night. For the first time in her life, she was facing something not for survival, not for daily necessities, but for her own future, and Tony's. That made her both excited and afraid, like standing before a large door that would open into a completely different world with just one push. Could she stay determined on this path of knowledge? She knew learning would not be easy, especially after living nearly her whole life doing farm work, selling vegetables at the market, and never writing a single proper letter. But she also knew that it is never too late to begin. Every small step would bring her closer to a future she had once believed she had no right to dream of. She feared being slow, feared not remembering, feared being laughed at. But then the image of Tony working hard in his therapy classes came to mind, the little boy who also had to try every single day. And she thought, if her son could do it, why couldn't she? What surprises would this new journey bring? No one could know. There would surely be difficulties, sleepless nights, and moments she might want to give up. But there would also be unexpected joys, like the first time she could read a sign, the first time she could sign her name, or the moment she could teach Tony a letter she had just learned herself. The path of knowledge was long and wide, but each step she took today would slowly lead her to things she had never imagined. And most importantly, she was not alone. She had Hung, who silently prepared everything for her. She had Tony, her greatest reason to keep moving forward. She had people who loved her, waiting to see her grow. Follow today's video to see how Hoai begins her journey to literacy. Because the moment she holds a pen for the first time, is also the moment her life opens to a new chapter, a blank chapter, ready for her to fill with her strength and love.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong video sau nhé, bye bye.